So, got a story. The other day, I was at this store and they had this watch that was really colorful. My favorite color, in fact. It was really robust. And I have one or two of these watches, and it's actually the watch on my wrist right now. This is an orange G Shock that I actually found the other day while shopping for a crazy deal. And then I decided to check the online prices, and this thing is reselling for an absurd amount of money. So I ended up getting it. I've added it to my collection. And in this video, it's really got me thinking on the past. My first ever watch was a G Shock. The first type of watches that I was ever really obsessed with and did immense looking into were G Shocks, but I don't really seem to wear G Shocks that much anymore. And so it kind of got me thinking, are G Shocks still cool? In this video, we are gonna hopefully answer that question. Welcome back to the K Dunn channel. As always, my name is Caden, and that is a car. Goodbye, car. On this channel, I like documenting my watch collecting journey. And in this video, I want to document a new watch I got and also talk about my thought process as I've been spending some time with this watch. So like I said in the intro, G Shocks were my first introduction to the watch collecting world. My first ever watch was a G Shock. The reference is DW5610-1M. Maybe, that might be so wrong. But I got it when I was 18 to replace my Apple Watch to just get a standard, normal ass watch on the wrist. That version has multiband 6, tough solar, and it was just a standard G Shock that never needed batteries changed and was always perfectly accurate in terms of its timekeeping abilities. I wore that watch pretty much every single day for 2 to 3 years until it started having this weird issue where it just wouldn't connect to the satellites anymore. And unfortunately, it was at that point in time that I started wearing an Apple Watch SE. I know. And so we don't have to go into all the details, but long story short, G Shocks are really where my first love of watches and watch collecting was at. And so when I saw this bad boy, I figured it's a G Shock in my favorite color. I have to get it. And so what is this specific G Shock on my wrist? This watch is the Casio G Shock Square. The reference number is GWM5610NASA4. This watch was discontinued, I believe, probably a couple years ago, and I think this was a limited edition, and this is a collab with NASA. I think this is the third, maybe the fourth collab that they've done with NASA. And so the boring numbers are on the screen right here. It's got really weird, specific dimensions to the case. But practically, I would say this wears kind of like a 41 millimeter if it was a traditional watch. It's 200 meters of water resistance. This version also has the multiband 6 and the tough solar, meaning it is radio controlled for timekeeping. So every morning, if it receives the signal, it is perfectly accurate to your nearest tower. Tough solar, of course, meaning solar powered. So you're not gonna have to change batteries on this. The resin material on this watch is orange, and it has some NASA branding on the bottom strap, the top strap, and there's a little American flag on the black keeper. The other very oddly specific weird thing I really like about this watch is the metal pin and buckle system attached to this watch is a bead blasted material, whereas on traditional G Shocks, it's kind of a, not necessarily a super well polished stainless steel, but it's like a polished, shiny stainless steel. And I really like the bead blasting on this clasp or keeper. On the dial or the display itself, there's a little blue ring that kind of runs around the display where the tough solar part is. Something cool that you maybe did or maybe did not know is that Casio and G Shock actually have been to space, if you believe that we have even been to space, but we're not going to talk about that. I have right here in front of me a nice cool little book. I got this book last year, and something really cool is when you go ahead and you open it to the middle of the book, we have this awesome picture. And what is that on Mr. Astronaut's wrist, you might be asking? That kind of looks like a G Shock. Like the spacesuits those astronauts wore, this G Shock is supposed to symbolize those colors of that uniform. And while we associate the moon watch, the Speedmaster, with going to the moon, the G Shock is kind of synonymous with the ISS, the International Space Station. We can see here some photos of some astronauts on the ISS wearing G Shocks. And I actually found this listing on eBay of what is supposedly a ISS worn G Shock Square that's kind of for sale for a lot of money. And I thought that was kind of interesting, the space connection that G Shock has to space. The sun and the clouds hate me, and the lighting is getting too in and out and all over the place. And we're gonna finish the next portion, the meat and the potatoes, back at the studio. And we are back in the K-Dun studio to talk about the very first point and one of the main big reasons why I love G-Shocks. In order to demonstrate this first point, let me go and grab something. Something I love about G-Shocks is the fact that there are so many fun colors and sizes and variety and options to pick from. Just to name a few, we of course have the orange NASA G-Shock, my yellow Ed Sheeran X Hodinky edition G-Shock, this fun women's girl G-Shock that I have matching with my girlfriend. How cute is that? My very first ever watch, my first G-Shock, and G-Shock 6900 that I got at Walmart. I think adding color and variety to your collection spices it up and adds some fun when watches can sometimes seem to be very boring and bland. And Casio offers so many different color G-Shocks to pick from that it's kind of crazy. And obviously, I love color. The other thing I love about G-Shocks is just how objectively perfect they are. You can take them anywhere. You can pretty much wear them anywhere that most people practically go. They're insanely accurate, insanely robust, very water resistant. You can wear them anywhere, they last forever, and they're very relatively inexpensive. So I think on paper, G-Shocks are kind of perfect watches. I know that I have said that this G-Shock, my very first G-Shock, this specific version with the multiband and the tough solar makes it the all-around most perfect watch. And so for pretty much everyone, I think it's just the most makes sense checklist on paper watch that exists. And of course, the thing we can't forget about is just G-Shock's absolute robustness. I'm gonna kind of contradict myself with the first point that I don't like about G-Shocks. And it's not that I don't like them, but something I've found recently is because they are too perfect, they're so accurate, they are just so the logical choice for a watch, that for me, it kind of takes the emotional fun factor out of watches. I love how when I wear a mechanical timepiece, I feel a connection to the movement and the gears and the springs on the inside of that watch. And the emotional factor that really got me into watches was the mechanics of how a mechanical watch works. So recently I have found that when I'm wearing a G-Shock, I don't have that same mechanical emotional connection to the timepiece. For me, in my collection, when I wear a G-Shock, sometimes I get in this weird mood where I just want to wear a boring, straight to the point watch. And for me, that's really what the role of a G-Shock is for me. But of course, the con to that is it kind of removes that emotional factor that I personally have for mechanical timepieces. So to wrap up this video, do I think that G-Shocks are still good? I personally think G-Shocks are probably always going to be the most logical choice of just an all-around perfect watch. But as I have been wearing this watch this week, as I just got it, it's my newest watch within the collection, I had this epiphany that despite the fact that G-Shocks are really what got me into watches, buying this one didn't really give me any fizzies on the inside. It really didn't give me any emotional feelings. It just kind of felt like a nice, that's a good watch. Which, as I'm saying it now, is kind of sad because I look back on this watch and I think of all the memories that I have in this watch, and there is still an emotional connection to this watch, but it's more so in the memories that I have associated with this specific watch. And so maybe it's just the fact that this one doesn't have any memories in it, nothing attached to it, so this just feels kind of like a cold and clinical but colorful watch on my wrist. I'm hoping this video was not too out of pocket and weird and was cohesive and made sense, but I want to know your thoughts. What do you think about G-Shocks? What is your personal experience with G-Shocks and your current kind of relationship that you have with G-Shocks? I'd be curious to read your comments below. And as always, I appreciate you guys, you crazy guys, for sticking to the very end of this video. 2 thumbs up for you guys. Appreciate it. And I'll catch you in the next one. Goodbye.